Well, I figured we'd probably talk a little bit about the context of the two videos. Maybe talk a little bit about the radiometric dating. I did have a couple of questions as I did some more research on it, but I'm not sure if you wanna go straight into that or how you wanna approach it. Okay, so I mean, my general understanding, like you said, I don't know some of the technical terms. You can help me with some of that, and also the raw science behind it. But my understanding how carbon dating works is basically that we have, and stop me if I say something that's incorrect. But I mean, we've got
carbon dating.
What's that?
I wouldn't say carbon dating. I would refrain from the use of the word carbon dating. I would say either radiocarbon or radiometric.
Oh, okay. So radiocarbon dating.
Sure.
Okay. So, I mean, my understanding is we've got carbon in us. We take in carbon. We have a mixture of C12, which is the normal isotope of carbon. Is that right?
Kind of. What you have is what we have in our bodies is carbon-12, and then the atmosphere. You have carbon-14. Carbon-14 is different than carbon-12. That is specifically what is, because carbon-12 is, call it inert if you want to, but it doesn't break down the same way as carbon-14 does. When carbon-14 goes to its half-life, it turns into nitrogen-14.
Yeah, because it's got the two extra neutrons or whatever that turn into nitrogen over time, right?
Correct. It loses protons. Yeah, that's correct. And that's how we're able to accurately date carbon, carbon-14 and carbon-80. That's one of the 60+ types of dating methods we use. Yes. Okay.
Cool. So, and then the half-life of C14 is about 5,700 years, right?
Yeah, 5,740. Correct.
Okay. And so the way that they date these, usually it's with machines. Is it a mass spectrometer that they usually use?
Well, there are a lot of different ways.
Oh, okay.
We use mass spectrometers yet, but there are other ways as well of detecting the amounts of carbon, the amounts of nitrogen, and it's of course in carbon-based life forms that are less than 60,000 years old.
Right.
Once we get into other types of methods, you're talking much older half-life or longer half-lives. Which, by the way, you can use, and this is one of the ways that we're able to verify
Right. Okay. So overall, you'd say that carbon or radiocarbon dating is pretty accurate then.
To a certain extent, yes.
So if you and I got carbon dated, what would it look like?
Well, it wouldn't work on us. We're alive.
So it only works on things that are dead and are no longer taking in carbon.
Correct. And after somebody told me, by the way, if you go back and watch some Periscope, I have some people who are hilarious that I know. So, but it does take a certain amount of time for carbon-14 to start breaking down. Yes. We wouldn't be able to date something like if a steel died today, we would not radiocarbon date it tomorrow. It does take time for that to start breaking down.
Okay, so there's a window of time.
Yes, I'd have to go back and look at my notes again to see how long it is. But there's a certain amount of time when you start to have the breakdown of carbon-14.
Oh, okay. All right, and then because of the nature of mathematics, I mean, if we're doing a half-life of 5,700 years, call it 5,700, then eventually you're going to get to a point where it's so small that it's undetectable.
Or that it's no longer there, correct.
Okay.
And in the case of carbon-14, you're looking at about 60,000 years, roughly 60,000 years, which is the main reason that that he was unwilling to try and date D-Rex with radiocarbon dating, is because it would not have rendered a correct date. It would have been a waste of time and a waste of money, because it would have rendered something completely incorrect.
He wouldn't. Oh, you're talking about with Jack Horner with the that phone conversation. Okay, so the question I had about that is, and here's where I'm coming from, because from a purely trying to step back and just listen to their discussion on the phone. One thing that Jack Horner said that kind of threw me off is he said he didn't want to date it, and then he said that if he did, the numbers would be all over the place and they wouldn't tell them anything. And to me, so my understanding based on your explanation and also what I've read is that if something's old enough, I mean, if it's 1 million years old, for instance, there should be no detection of carbon. And so I don't really understand what he means the numbers would be all over the place.
Correct. Well, what he means by that is that it would not render a proper reading. The way that it would work at this point is we've used carbon-14, but it would render, and what you said on there is infinite. Infinite is not correct, but it would be numbers that it wouldn't go, one of them would say 6,000 years, one of them would say 4,000 years, one of them would say, it wouldn't be a correct dating. It wouldn't be a correct date no matter what we do, because the dating method is incredibly incorrect. The percentages is it would have been way off. I can't. Well, it would have been off. I mean, consider how many because where they found the strata they found T-Rex was in the Elk Creek Formation of about 68 million years. 60,000 and they dropped in the bucket of 68 million. And you would have had, you never would have even said anything close to 68 million, but they also wouldn't have said 60,000 because carbon-14 never would go above 60,000. It would be everywhere. It would get so many different possibilities of numbers that none of them would be accurate.
So I don't. So I must not be understanding. So if we carbon date something, or if we radiocarbon date something sufficiently, and we say, oh look, it's coming back at around 10,000, and then we date something that's even older, and it's coming back around 30 to 40,000. But then we get something that's so old, there is zero carbon, basically in this thing. Shouldn't it come back with it's undetectable? There's no detectable carbon in it?
No, the mass spectrometer would still read. It would still read. It would still provide a reading, but it would be an incorrect reading.
But how do you know it's incorrect?
There's always an output, no matter what. It just simply is not the correct output. Because it would read the amount of nitrogen units in there, and it would, because that's actually how we do radiocarbon dating that way. But it would not render the correct reading.
Well, how do you? So I know you're not. I know you're not saying this, but from what you did just say, it's not going to render the correct reading. So from somebody from the outside of science, I'm saying you have a method that you mathematically show a number of ratio of carbon 12 to carbon 14. And we don't want to do it because it's not going to come up with the correct reading. That sounds like, just pulling back, thinking philosophically, that sounds like you already have a correct reading in your mind. Therefore, you don't want to get one that's not correct. So why even carbon date stuff if you already have the correct reading?
And from an outside perspective, I can see where that would make sense. But also, let's consider this. Kind of like what is big fossil holding back from us? And I can see where that would come from. But let's consider this: the strata that P-Rex was found in, which is the name of this dinosaur, is accurately dated to 68.5 million years.
By another radiometric dating.
Yes, another method of dating, correct.
Is it similar to this one?
Say again?
So like a similar method, same type of process. There's something that decays into something else over a half-life.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And this is, what I'm going to get into this is, and then we also look at the other fossils that are in the exact same strata, which we have plenty of. The Elk Creek Formation is amazing. There are plenty of fossils there.
Yeah.
But they're all dated the exact same date.
By using the strata, not carbon dating.
Yeah, we don't use carbon dating. We use mind you, we can date the rocks. We don't use carbon dating for the rocks, and you got that right, but we can date rocks.
Sure, you just use a different dating method.
Correct. And then what we do is we say, okay, and this is one of the things I think that people have a tendency to not, I don't know, understand how to lead with science. But here's what science actually says. And one of the biggest things that scientists do is we have information. The information says that this is what this is. Scientists, on every single day, on a regular basis, don't try and prove that is correct. They actually try and disprove that. The way they try and disprove it, and to falsify it in actual terminology, is to use other dating methods. So what we would say is, okay, we have this fossil, and this fossil of Triceratops, which there are plenty of Triceratops, so there's Ceratopsians in the Elk Creek Formation. This scientist has said that he or she has dated to 69 million years. It's not as far of the strata, but still pretty close. It's still below the KT boundary no matter what you do. Okay, what methods they use? You could say they use samarium, neodymium. Okay, very good. Well, let's use uranium, lead, helium. And let's check that. Now let's use iodine, xenon. And let's use argon, and uranium, lead. And we use all these different types of dating methods, of which all are present in the fossil. Mm-hmm. And they all converge. They all converge on one date. And that's how and what we do is we look at carbon 14, and carbon 14 is the outlier. The carbon 14 dating is the one that's way completely off from all the rest of it. That's how we know it's incorrect. So it's not that we don't want to, or nobody wants to date this because, we don't want to find something out about dinosaurs. They were actually here just a couple thousand years ago. It simply is, it's been done before. Mm-hmm. And it's been
So,
$20,000, I can think of a lot of things that a ministry can do with $20,000 is not to try and tell a paleontologist that they're wrong about something.
well, if I said, so like, putting the phone conversation with, what's his name, Bob, something or other, and Jack Horner, into context. If I said, hey, Nathaniel, I have a magic rock that defies gravity, and I'll pay you $20,000 to do a test on it, and I will show you that when you drop it, it does not fall. And I said, you can use the $20,000, you know, run the test, and you can have the rest of the money. I mean, to me, that's an easy $20,000. All right, run the test and prove the dummy wrong, and then be like, all right, thanks for the money, bud.
Well, yes, except you know as well as I do. First off, I wouldn't ask a paleontologist or even a paleoanthropologist to do that, but that's not the point. I would ask them probably show business to do that. What the church in Colorado was trying to do, and I know this how this is going to sound, but it's true, was trying to do something that they knew was dishonest. They misrepresented it as younger creationists have since Mary Schweitzer had released her information and had her information published in 2005. What she said. And they misrepresented the science behind this. When somebody hears the phrase soft tissue, you automatically assume it's very young, it's still, and I even heard it in your video where it's like this flesh type thing, where it's not, it's fossilized. The only way that Schweitzer and her team were even able to get down into seeing these fossils and these remains of what's lined up and it appears to be red blood cells is by dipping it in a very slow acting acid and basically melting away all of the rest of the fossil that's around it to get to the inner part of that bone.
Right.
Which is fossilized. Fossilized bone, important to know that. And every single paleontologist, paleohistologist, anthropologist, geologist, everything knows that. Every single one.
So why were they? So I saw the interviews with, and again, I try to find the places where people who believe in evolution, what they say about it, and wherever there's a cross section between what they say and what somebody, maybe, you know, a young Earth creationist or somebody on that side, generally, not always, but the truth is probably close to that when they're agreeing. And she said that initially she didn't even want to tell anybody about the soft tissue because it's completely impossible. Like, it's impossible to have soft tissue in a $68 million. It does not last that long. So putting it in context, I understand if this was just another bone that somebody dug up and they said, hey, carbon date this. But wouldn't you, or I shouldn't say wouldn't you, but would you agree, or do you see that because of the situation, my goodness, this is a find that nobody expected, it blew their minds. There were literally critics coming back to her initially and saying, you have that the data is wrong, it's contaminated, this is impossible. In that context, wouldn't carbon dating it say, oh, wait a minute, this is something that's blowing our minds, maybe we should carbon date this just to get a read and see what it does?
Well, kind of, if you look at it from the outside, but the thing is that the age of the fossil was never in question.
Right.
It was simply things that, because of the way that paleontologists, which is actually funny for me because when I was a kid, I wanted to go be a paleontologist. And now I ended up, instead of studying stupid dinosaurs, now I'm studying people. Dead people, though, so I'm not like a psychologist or anything like that. I'm not a shrink. Paleontologists are not in the habit of going out, having all this funding from universities to go and find these fossils and then to break them open and to break them literally, because this is a fossil, man. You know, and so it's not something that had been done before.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a total accident. I mean, Schweitzer's find was accidental.
Yeah, it was. Now, she actually back in 1991 did have something where she thought something like this existed, but there was no real evidence to go on. There was no real line of evidence to go and publish something in a peer-reviewed journal at all. And so this with T-Rex in 2000 and 2001 ended up being the chance for her to look at this. And that's why. But it was only her. Because it was happenstance, by the way, as is most amazing, as our most amazing discoveries in science, it's happenstance. Because she just happened to be one of the paleontologists who didn't like to be in the field because she had a family already.
Yeah.
And she liked to be in, like, you know, it was just, so she was like, I just want to look at this under the microscope. And by the way, when I mean under the microscope, I don't mean by looking at it in a chemistry lab that we would see in even high school or even in college. Where she was at and what she was doing, the type of test she was running, and her, yes, it is Tetris, and everything that she was doing was in this laboratory was specifically set up, you know, by her, and she wanted to run these tests. But it's simply interesting because something that we didn't think we would find.
Right.
As far as we knew, this is how fossilization works.
Mm-hmm. So is it?
As far as we knew, everything becomes mineralized, everything is filled in.
Yeah.
There's not even a trace of a fossil of organic material.
Yeah.
But we couldn't have known that because nobody had ever cracked open a dinosaur fossil before. And then they're like, hey, let's take some stuff from the inner part of the bone, in the inner part of the bone fossil, and let's look at it underneath an electron microscope or anything like that, or let's, things like that. That's just not something that paleontologists have ever done before.
So do you feel like it's so I had a quote from or I looked at a lot of videos, and so Mary Schweitzer in one of her interviews said that everything that they know about chemistry, biology, and every other science that they're aware of say that tissues do not last that long in no kind of tissue. So are you saying that now the thought process is that tissue can live for millions of years?
Well, no, it's not alive.
Well, I say live. I mean survive and not be fully fossilized.
But it was fully fossilized. That's the thing. It's still fully fossilized. She actually, and that's actually part of the process. And that's what's important to know, is that unless we spend time in laboratories, unless we spend time understanding what this actually means,
Mm-hmm.
and we can go out there about which, because when you use the word soft tissue, that phrase, you automatically think, well, it's alive, man, it's young.
I think that yes, but they did too, because again, they were talking about how blood vessels do not last that long, fossilized or not. The guys like, again, Jack Horner and Mary Schweitzer, they're on 60 Minutes saying that everything that they know, osteocytes and bone, blood vessels, I can't remember if they actually identified specific blood cells. They saw things that looked like blood cells, but I don't know if they ever figured out whether it was definitely a blood cell. But they said all of that stuff, it does not last a million years, let alone 68. Okay. But here it is.
There's also no DNA. There's also no DNA in there. Just so everybody knows. If there's ever a question, but there's no DNA in the dinosaur fossil. So no Jurassic Park. Sorry, guys.
Bummer.
Yeah, actually, that's a little upsetting.
I'm selling my tickets back.
We have, well, that's okay because we have birds now. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, you commented about the dinosaurs during the bird thing. Now, mind you, I saw the 60 Minutes videos as well. We're talking the early 2000s there when they're still, whatever, right when she had published the paper. Right when this had been in the peer-reviewed journals and everything. I have since read up on things, and I know a good friend of mine has actually had an interview with Mary Schweitzer, that son of a gun. Talk about just like a moment of jealousy where you're like, really? And he's like, you're flying of mountains, dude. I don't care. And there's this point where we can actually look and see some of the reasonings as to why this would have, even through the process of mineralization, why this remnants of fossilized red blood cells or fossilized soft tissue, why this would have stayed. And there are more than a few theories out there. And of course, using iron to protect against oxidation, which is certainly possible. There's a lot of iron, of course, that's in the fossil. Is something that is very, very viable. And but at the end of the day, it doesn't. No matter, because we don't understand the reasoning just yet, and that's to say that we actually have some fairly adept theories, if you want to say that, that are based on evidence, which is scientific theories are. When we look at that, even if we haven't yet figured it out, it doesn't mean that the fossil is any younger, and it doesn't mean that that we should go reverse all of science, to check other methods that we already know don't work. What it does mean is that we should look at the other fossils and check and see. As we dig them up, we need to get some things out of this fossil, and we need to check on this now. We need to change what we're doing going forward when it comes to, okay, does this fossil also have fossilized soft tissue? Does this fossil also have fossilized remains of red blood cells and the globin part of hemoglobin? So does this fossil also have this? Okay, where do we find this? And then we start to build based on evidence. We start to build theories. That of course makes a prediction. And of course, the prediction in science, well, this is what I think. Besides having figured out that there's fossilized soft tissue in this freaking T-Rex, what Mary Schweitzer found was medullary bone. And of course, medullary bone is what birds use to create eggs when they're pregnant. And
only birds?
We found them. Again.
Is it only birds that do that, or is it basically egg-laying animals?
It's birds. Aves in particular create what's known as medullary tissue, medullary bone in their bone, usually in their femurs, because of course bird bones are hollow.
Right.
Mammals also create mammalian females large amounts of calcium in the bones as well, and that of course is for embryonic development. So we just do it a little differently than birds do. They use things to create, medullary tissue inside medullary bone, and that helps in the creation of eggs. And we found the exact same thing in ostrich
Interesting. So, question for you on kind of stepping back as a general question. You mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to ask, like follow-ups on. It's not so much on this particular issue, but I forget exactly what it was you said. But do you find the concept of God or Christianity, for instance, incompatible with evolution? So if you believe in evolution, then you can't really believe in God, or Christianity is not true? Or do you feel like there's lots of people that believe in evolution, that believe in God, believe in Christians, or I believe in Christians too, believe in Christianity. So do you find them incompatible?
There are. I preface this by saying there are more than a few scientists who are theistic. In fact, 51%, according to Pew Research, would say that 51%, Pew Research would say that 51% of scientists in the United States are theistic. Now, of course, also deistic. Deism falls under the umbrella of theism, but still would say something about a creator or something of that nature.
Yeah, my understanding, it could be anecdotal, could be wrong, but I in my watching of these videos, I read somewhere where actually Mary Schweitzer is a Christian.
She's a very, 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 let me use the word, she's very active in her church.
Yeah.
Crap, I don't know how to say that anymore. She's a very active Christian.
Yeah.
She defends her faith. Yeah, she's absolutely, and she herself has some very strong words for people that misrepresent her science.
Sure, yeah. Well, I would too. I think anybody that would misrepresent somebody's evidence and scientific rigor is, again, like we talked about in the beginning, misrepresentation doesn't help the conversation.
Yeah, which is what the people in Colorado, and I'm going to say this and I'll answer your question, which is what the people in Colorado were trying to do, and they knew that. No, evolution is not incompatible with a person believing in God. Not at all. Where evolution becomes incompatible, though, and this is the reason that young Earth creationists like the Institute for Creation Research and Discovery Institute had answers in freaking Genesis. The reason they fight so hard against this is because it is incompatible with the creation story. If a person is to take the account of the book of Genesis in Genesis chapters 1 and 2 seriously, and what I mean by seriously is that it's not an allegory, but rather to say this is actually what happened, then yes, evolution is absolutely incompatible. So there's a bit of a fine line there. If a person takes the Bible as 100% literal, then yes, it's incompatible. Now, if a person understands that the creation story in the book of Genesis is simply an allegory for nomadic herders who are finally settling down in the Mesopotamian area of Iraq, would be, as farmers, that type of allegory is not incompatible. Or a person who just said, I believe in Jesus, don't really care about anything else, and I understand evolution to be fact. Cool. The only place where it becomes, a bit of an issue is when you have people who want to take young Earth creationism as science and the Bible as science, and then try and use that to say this is why evolution isn't true. That's the.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with you on that point. Using the Bible to try and prove that evolution is not true, I think is problematic. The Bible is not a scientific book. I mean, I I wrote papers and stuff in college, and I mean, you could easily make the case this guy's not even a Christian by taking some of my English papers because I don't mention God or Jesus or the Bible or my faith. But that's not what I was writing about. So I totally agree on that point. So from a paleontological standpoint, I have a question for you, because I watched a debate, kind of a debate, between Bill Nye and a guy named Ken Ham, who I think is at your answersinfreakinggenesis.com. So he and again, I was very displeased with the debate, because I felt like Ken Ham spent too much time answering every question with, well, there's a book, and in that book, and me personally, again, I feel like there's lots of good scientific arguments and evidence and things you can talk about without going to. Now, if he's debating something in the New Testament scriptures, Christian v. Christian on an internal matter, okay, fine, you got to use scripture. But with somebody like Bill Nye, it didn't make any sense. But something he kept saying over and over in there, I personally think is a very good way of looking at science, and I've seen a lot of people bash him for it, and I wanted to get your take on it. And he says that science has two branches. One branch is what he says is historical. The other branch is, I think he calls it observational. And he uses the analogy of like somebody in CSI. And I have a quote here that I was going to throw out there and see if you agree with it. The quote is, unlike botany or zoology, which also concern living things, paleontology is a historical science, a science based on circumstantial evidence after the fact. We can never reach hard and fast conclusions in our study about ancient plants and animals, points beyond which no further debate or research would be necessary. These days, it's easy to go to school for a good many years, sometimes even through college, without ever hearing that some sciences are historical or by nature inconclusive. So just in context there, or that, do you feel like that's an accurate way of putting science into two kind of branches?
No, it's not. It's completely inaccurate. Which is what our creation is due. There's no such thing as historical and observational science. It's all observational science. There's no such thing. Just like there's no such thing as micro v macro evolution. Just like there's no such thing as every type of science to try and make up. There's just no such thing.
When you say that they try to make up, what do you mean they?
Young Earth creationists.
Oh, that quote. That quote's not from a young Earth creationist. That quote is actually from Jack Horner's book, Dinosaur Lives, that he wrote back in the late 90s. And I mean, as a paleontologist, I figure and again, like I said before, I look at places where people overlap. Obviously, Horner he believes in evolution, of course. But when he says that, and then Ken Ham also says it, I look at that cross-section and say, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Well, in this, and then I have to check out the entire core of that. But in that sense, what I think possibly happens at this point then is, and at this point you caught me there, by the way, John, working job.
And no, I don't. So I'm not trying to get you just so other people watching or whatever. Anybody could throw out a quote and try and do a gotcha. I'm not trying to do that at all. I'll send you the link because I researched it because I saw this quote and I know people do quote mining and all that crap. So I went to Amazon and looked up his book. It's page 19 of his book, and what he's saying in context. It's funny because he actually goes into it and says that he likes paleontology because paleontology is closer to being like a sleuth or a murder mystery. And it's like being a detective. There's things after the fact that have happened. You're coming in later, and you are putting the pieces together, looking at evidence, and you come to a conclusion that you can't truly observe. And so, again, I think it really fits. But you're saying you don't really agree with. And again, you don't have to agree with Jack Horner. So you're saying you don't really agree with that.
That's correct. But science, which is what it is. But the way that, and I watched the Bill Nye and Ken Ham debate. I put that in air quotes, by the way.
Yeah, I thought Ken, again, I thought there were many more things he should have dealt with.
Yeah, he should have talked about how the kangaroos got back to Australia. He just left that one by itself.
Yeah.
He just let that one go. Well, not even kangaroos, man. Let's talk about, and it's actually much further to get to the North Pole from Mount Ararat than it is to get to Australia. Let's talk about polar bears, man.
Yeah.
Or, if you will, walruses. Anyway. But the way that Ken Ham takes observational science is almost as if you can't see that, which is when he does the "Were you there?" thing, and Julia Penguins live on the top pole. And that's not the same thing. And so I guess whenever I was listening, I assumed, and I rather incorrectly, imposters are Russian, that was coming from Ken Ham, but listening again, when you're speaking like this, it is like CSI. Observational science is like studying a murder mystery, and looking at all the clues and then making an observation based on the evidence. But the way that younger creationists try and twist what this is, and what observational science actually is, it's a lie.
Well, I think so. My understanding from looking at some of what they put out, and what Ken Ham was doing, I got a totally different thing from him. What I was getting is that he's making the point that we all look at the same evidence, but because we're not there to test it. So, for instance, you and I could get in a room right now, and we could test that objects fall down, like, over and over and over. Whereas with origins or things where there's a single event, abiogenesis and things like that.
It's not evolution, by the way.
Huh?
Abiogenesis is not evolution, by the way. Just make sure we understand that.
No, abiogenesis, yeah, it's a one-time event that folks feel like somehow something happened. And so in other words, we can't go back and test that. We have to do what? We have to test the present and make observations in the present and infer things in the past. I thought that was the point he was trying to make, and that's what made sense to me. And I feel like that's what Jack Horner's saying. Not that you can't come to the right conclusion. CSI, people are convicted and they get the right guy all the time based off of that kind of evidence. So I didn't feel like he was saying that's not science or that's not good evidence. I think there's a ton of branches of science that use that methodology and use it accurately.
Correct. The issue is that younger creationists take that and say, well, you can't know because you weren't there. And then they try and say, well, you look at it, and they use the word interpret. Then you interpret it differently. Well, sure. We would absolutely interpret it differently. That's what science does. Science attempts to falsify one another. Scientists, that literally is the job of the scientist, is to attempt to falsify something. By attempting to falsify something, we are either falsifying it and saying this is incorrect, your conclusion is incorrect, or we are adding more credence to it.
Yeah.
And that is what observational science does. So observational science does this evidence, right? And then testing makes, we have a hypothesis, we make the evidence, we look at it, we make the evidence, we create a theory, which is a prediction. And this is what the theory says. Bam, publish the paper, peer reviewed. Now, when it goes off to peer review, this is a long process. This is why there's never been one younger creationist publication ever put in a peer-reviewed journal. The reason for this is because it goes through more rigorous testing. These individuals and these groups of people at this point say, okay, this is what you state. This is what you say. This is your stuff. I won't put the papers I'm going through right now. This is your conclusion, right? This This is your theory. Awesome. We're going to try to falsify this. The way they try to falsify it, by the way, is by, in the case of any type of radiometric dating, by using other dating methods. By ensuring that what you said, if you said you were contaminant free, by looking at every single thing that a person is stating. Does this line up with what we understand with science? Does this line up? Does this line up? Does this line up? Does this line up? If it doesn't, and it's falsified, then you're never going to get peer reviewed. Which is why there's never been one single young Earth creationist that ever had a peer-reviewed journal, a peer-reviewed article in a journal. Ever.
Well, I think you mean along certain lines. I mean, there's definitely
well,
younger.
They write their own garbage, yeah.
No, I mean, there's been peer-reviewed. During the dinosaur thing, I found a guy that did a peer-reviewed article. He found some soft tissue in a triceratops horn.
Yes, but what he wrote, by the way, he was at Cal State Northridge. You said MIT, I think, or Smithsonian. He was at Cal State Northridge. And he wasn't let go from his position because he published anything in anything having to do with young Earth creationism. I know all about this guy. He actually published something about soft tissue, fossilized soft tissue in a triceratops horn. And by the way, this was actually the largest triceratopsian horn that we had ever actually found.
Yeah.
And that's actually amazing. But it is a publication that was peer reviewed. Had nothing to do with young Earth creation.
Well, yeah. So I was just. Yeah, I was just saying.
It wasn't because of any kind of young Earth creationism.
Oh, no. I agree. I agree it wasn't because of his young Earth creationism. The point I was making was a lot of science, and this is just my take on it. I mean, a lot of science, it really has no... what you believe about the age of the Earth, and much of science, even this guy's a young Earth creationist, he publishes an article about a triceratops horn and soft tissue in it. The fact that he's a young Earth creationist, or if he was an evolutionist, that doesn't matter. He's just printing a scientific find and presents the facts, and it's peer reviewed, and it's good to go. My main thing is, and I don't know that you believe this or not. I don't really know, but I hear a lot, and you actually quoted. What did you say? 51% are theistic. See, you don't hear that though. You hear a lot of people that are very popular, when they talk about science and things like that, they try to make it sound like all scientists, none of them care about God, believe in God, they're not faithful Christians. You don't really hear a lot about the Christian people like Mary Schweitzer. You don't hear about that. And I feel like it's... No, go ahead. I was just going to say, I feel like that's not helpful to the discussion. I don't think it matters. For most of science, I don't think it matters what you believe about God or what you believe about the age of the Earth. I think science is what science is, and facts are facts.
You are correct. And that's actually something that Mary Schweitzer said, too. Whenever she goes into, and she said this, whenever she goes into the laboratory, there is no religion in there. People don't talk about God in there.
Yeah.
People go in there to do their job. And the job is to look at evidence and to attempt to falsify other evidence. By attempting to falsify something, it only either, again, does falsify it or lends more credence and builds a stronger foundation based on the theories that are presented.
Right.
There is no, and there shouldn't be. There should not be. Science doesn't attempt to explain something that's supernatural. Science doesn't work in that realm. It can't. There is no observation of supernatural. There is no empirical data of supernatural. Science would not work in that realm.
Right. I mean, science has to be... You got to have some basic idea of uniformity and things like that. If there's a supernatural force that one time does things that are out of the norm, you can't really test that scientifically. It's not uniformity.
Correct. Because there's no way you can say that it would be supernatural.
Right.
But what we have, though, are people. I like this. This is actually Dr. Jason Lyle, right here. I'm reading this, right? I'm reading. Hold on one second. I got this stuff from, I call it Gospel Billboard Ministries, and the guys that have big billboards all over the country. They're like, talk about Jesus. Call this phone number. I was like, all right, I can do that. Where is this little publication at? Right here. I think it's just right here. Yeah. This is Dr. Jason Lyle talking about evolution in one of his little pamphlets that I'm holding in my hand right now. Now, Dr. Jason Lyle has a PhD, which is very awesome, but it's in astrophysics, not in evolutionary biology, or any type of biology. This is an appeal to authority in which we should not listen to this person speak in a position of authority having to do with biology. Not to say that he doesn't know about it, but why is a person, an astrophysicist, writing a paper, which is not, it's not a paper, this is a little pamphlet, based on evolutionary biology. You don't have scientists writing this stuff. Scientists don't write this. What we have is the scientific community who goes and looks at evidence and attempts to falsify the evidence again and again and again and again and again and again, and then publishes peer-reviewed papers in peer-reviewed journals. I think that Lawrence Krauss has 700 and something citations in peer-reviewed journals, which is freaking awesome. But I wouldn't ask him to come and give me a lecture on paleohistology because he's a molecular astrophysicist. But they're not writing this stuff. The people who write this stuff are the people who clone-mine science and try and take science out of context to make it fit a preconceived narrative. And that's why you have these conversations now where people like Richard Dawkins, to use some very popular name, will have conversations about philosophy because people write this kind of stuff and take science out of context and try and make it seem like we got living flesh in a dinosaur bone, and we didn't. Not even a little bit. And that's why it's so frustrating, too, because you're spending, like Ken Ham and his stupid boat that doesn't float in Kentucky, was able to petition the highest court in the state of Kentucky for $17 million in taxpayer money to build his religious boat. It has no science in it. Sorry, I'm passionate about this. And scientists don't do this. Scientists don't do this. There's a book that's called The Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism. And it is an amazing book. And what it shows is every single younger creationist has lied and misrepresented science. And they do it because the layperson doesn't understand the difference between carbon-12, carbon-14. The half-life of 5,740 now is not just one more half of the molecule, and doesn't understand the difference between uranium and lead, and uranium-36 and uranium-16. It doesn't understand anything about the periodic table, and all they want to know is that what they believed from when they were kids is actually true. And I get that. People want to be reinforced in this. But just because I want to believe something doesn't make it true. But now what I have are people who spend millions of dollars, and by the way, violate federal law by saying I'm not going to fight with you unless you're a younger creationist, and you say you're not going to affect until you're married unless you say that homosexuality is like apparently the biggest sin ever. And why don't you use taxpayer dollars to do that?
Well, so I have a question. I have a question about, and again, I'm big also on In the political realm, I mostly just try to stay away from it in my videos because I try to keep things more on a spiritual level, or Christianity, things like that. But I'm big on small government. I'm huge on. I mean, I think you mentioned that Stefan Molyneux. I mean, literally, I watch his stuff and I'm thinking, this guy and I think alike in 95% of the things that we see. So I'm big on that. But here's the question I would have about the taxpayer dollars going toward the what is it called? The Ark Encounter. If the taxpayers of Kentucky are voting people in, we're a representative republic or a democracy, and they vote people in to represent their interests, and they feel like this is a good thing to spend $17 or $20 million or whatever it was. I mean, people build football stadiums with taxpayers' money. People build hockey stadiums. Where I work, there's a big stadium going in. I'm never going to go watch a game there. I don't really have a big issue with that. Because it's it draws people in from a civic perspective. It draws money in. It draws tourists in. It's not damaging. It's not painful. It's not like, oh, this is going to draw tourists in if we throw people to the lions, and so let's do this. But you understand my point. If the taxpayers are willing to fork over the money, I don't really see that there's a big issue with that.
Well, the taxpayers actually voted against it, and we actually went to court, and the court said that it was fine. And also,
well, that's our. And again, I agree with you that if the courts, but we could go to some other hot topics where the courts overrode the will of the people in many areas. So again, I just feel like that's our government. I disagree with a lot of the way it's set up. You and I probably have a lot of agreements on that. That there's a lot of things we could do differently and better. But in the way of young Earth creationists, I just Googled this. So the foundational falsehoods of creationism. Let me make sure I have the right one. It's by Aaron Raw.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check into that. And here's my thing with the connection with you, Nathaniel, is I would like to have someone that I can correspond with that sees things differently than me, but that will keep me similar to with the radiometric dating stuff. If I have a differing opinion on the evidence, that's one thing, but I don't want to present the evidence in a way that's not correct. Let me present it correctly, and then if I still have a differing opinion, fine, whatever. So I'd like to be able to maybe bounce things off. I know you're busy, but have kind of a correspondence here so that you and I can keep each other honest and still being able to be free thinkers and discuss these things in a forum that a lot of people aren't doing it. You've probably watched debates. I've watched them. Those guys don't talk to each other. They talk to their constituency, and they walk away, and nobody changed their mind, and no ground was ever made, and it's just people making thousands of dollars in speaker fees. And it's just it's unfortunate because the Socratic method, the Aristotelian, if you look at back at like philosophy, the whole thing is people coming together, expressing ideas, and talking through them, discussing, and that I like that model. I don't really like the model of you got 10 minutes, I got 10 minutes. We never talk to each other. It's like that wasn't a debate. That was two people doing different speeches. So I mean, let me know what you think. I mean, if you feel like that's silly and that's not going to happen, but just that's kind of what I was thinking from this. I feel like this conversation's been awesome. This is my first time ever getting to do this. I feel like this was awesome.
Yeah, and I agree as well. Now there is actually. There's like a young man that comes in, and I've had numerous conversations with him, to where the only way that I would ever speak to him is to say, you have 10 minutes, go. Because that's the type of person he is. Because he is completely incapable of having a rational discussion. And he also lies and says he was one thing. I'm like, dude, stop it. You're like Lee Strobel at this point. in. I call into the Gospel Billboard Ministries. And I talk to those guys. Like Clayton, who sent me stuff from Texas. A lot of the stuff that Clayton sent me, by the way, came from, because he was like, I'd like to send you some information. I said, I would love to read that. A lot of it comes from Answers in Genesis, by the way. So I can't wait to not learn anything there. Yes, I despise Answers in Genesis and the Institute for Creation Research and the Discovery Institute. Stop calling yourselves institutes. You're institutions. And at least Ken Ham is like, we're going to make this so it's obviously biblical. Although it's not scientific at all. And one thing that I would say, it's not colonially jerk. One thing that I would say is, when I was watching Ken Ham speak with Bill Nye, he said, hey, look at all the scientists we have here. One of our greatest researchers into the history of the Earth is the guy that made the MRI. Congratulations. Right, Dennis. He made the MRI. Why should I care what he says about radiometric dating? That's an appeal to authority. I do not care. And that's what they do a lot. You'll never have a science. You'll never go to UCLA or UC Berkeley and have a bunch of professors get up on stage that are chemists to speak about string theory, because the two are completely without the sciences. Yeah. You'll never have me talk about string theory. Also, I'm not intelligent enough to understand it. I will speak about the history of Homo, which would be us, because that's where my degree lies. Also in various states of paleohistology and things like this. But what you find with younger Earth creationism is that they do the opposite. At Younger Earth Creationist University, biologists can talk about astronomy with the same level of not only sort of brevity, but people believe them the same as if they were a professor they might be. And there's an issue with that. And that's why I recommend read Aaron Ross' book. Aaron Ross, he's a really great guy. He's a little more direct than I am, to say the least. But read that book. It shows where they're just getting completely dishonest. And not just that book, by the way, feel free, do what I do. And when somebody says something, go and I believe you do this anyway, but go and look it up. And say, okay, well, this is what he says right here. Is this actually true? And what context is it in? I found that Aaron Ross is very, very fair in that way. And the people in Kentucky are super good at voting against their own best interests. So are the people in West Virginia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Those are the 10 poorest states in the country, and 9 of them vote against their own best interests, are very red states. They're the poorest states, and they're like, no, we don't need any more of the federal funding that you keep giving to us. So I'm not going to depend upon the people of Kentucky to tell me what their best interests are, because they continuously vote against them. Yay for coal that we don't use anymore. All right. And, that type of thing. To kind of go back on that, to circle back around to that. I didn't want to give them a soapbox about that, but I figured I'd mention it.
Yeah. So quick question for you. I actually have to run in like 2 minutes, but
yeah.
So you're originally from Nebraska and now you're on the West Coast?
Yeah, live in Portland now, yes, sir.
Oh, cool. Okay. So when do you usually do your broadcasts? Are they every day or?
Usually, yeah. And it's not always about the same thing. That would get boring, wouldn't it?
Yes.
We watched God's Not Dead 2 days ago.
I bet you love that, huh?
To use a word and a phrase, if you are aware of that abortion of a film. And we're going to be watching God's Not Dead 2. And if people like that movie, it's so dumb, I'm sorry. We're watching God's Not Dead 2 in a little bit. We watch Ray Comfort movies, little videos. They make you want to bang your head against the wall. We really have fun doing that. But yes, it is. Usually, I try and have my videos between like 2 and 4 o'clock West Coast time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that way it's like 5 and 7 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I have, of course, folks like Julia who live in the UK, other people who live in the UK. They're like, we like to do it earlier in the day. It's not the same as it being in the Midwest anymore. And, because I've been here since January, and the time to, I'm going to go back home just so I can be in a better time zone.
Yeah.
But I usually try and do them around between like 5 and 7 Eastern time.
Oh, okay.
I don't always accomplish that, but that's what I try and do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this was a lot of fun, and I did a little bit of looking into different setups. I'm thinking if we do this again, we should probably try to do a Skype call next time. I've seen some cool stuff that people do with Skype.
Yeah, I agree.
But that'd probably be pretty cool. But I appreciate the time, man. I think this has been a really good conversation, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm gonna hit you up I'm gonna take you up on Facebook and hit you up and ask you what your setup is like, because I want to start doing some similar type of videos, and I haven't been able to find some good hardware that's reasonably priced or anything that I can use to accomplish that kind of side-by-side video look with, doing it with Periscope and everything.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of fun. And thank you. And I certainly will do that. So reach out to me there. And thank you. I think I enjoyed this conversation as well. I think we'll probably get into some more things here in the future. We might set up some sort of a schedule for that as well. So awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, my man. Well, you have an awesome Friday, great weekend, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Nathaniel.
Sure, bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Well, that was awesome. He seems like a really good guy, and man, he reminds me so much of a really good friend of mine. Just some of his mannerisms and everything. So we're gonna try and put this on YouTube. I don't know if it'll even fit an hour and a half, possibly not. So anyway, if you guys want more of these types of things, let me know, or topics that you'd like to see discussed. But I thought it was awesome. He seemed like a great guy, and maybe one of these days when he's in Florida or I'm in Portland, we can get together and do something face to face. So anyway, signing off.